Hello, welcome to the Roseals Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. I call this meeting to order and ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a little bit of a later attendance by our commissioners this evening, but both Ms. Fegel and Mr. Valaquette are excused from this evening, so we'll proceed as with just the three of us up here. So with the agenda before you, is there any additions or deletions that you'd like? Well, I believe you'd made mention about possibility of moving some stuff around.
Mr. Chair, you always have the right to rearrange the order of the meeting to suit the needs of the meeting. So please avail yourself of that if you think it's appropriate.
Sure. I would like to move the recommendation for BPAC appointments up to before the old business. Is there any other?
I support that.
Great. Do we need a vote on that?
We do.
Is it
all in favor?
Aye. 3-0. Is there any other additions or deletions to the agenda?
Don't think so.
Okay, hearing none, move on. As far as the meeting minutes, did everyone get a chance to look over Mr. Valaquette's meeting minutes that he sent out last week?
Motion to approve as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Don't vote on it.
Oh.
It's not modified. Motion, there is
All
not
right.
a motion unless there is a modification.
Okay, sounds good.
Accepted as written.
This time we'll move to open public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak about anything on this agenda or anything else related to bicycle and pedestrian travel? Yes, sir. Come on up. If you don't mind, please state your name and address.
My name is David Harwell. I attend St. James Episcopal Church and am here to talk to you about a blessing of the bicycles and how our venue could tie in with your venues and what I've read about Island Fest and what you're doing there and how we could work together with our marketing perhaps to make your efforts for the good of the island tie in with ours, so a synergy of sorts. So that's why I'm here tonight to talk to you. We're planning something in June. We'd love to be able to coordinate with you perhaps at Island Fest, some of our volunteers to work with your commission at that time, but through our marketing as well, we would be talking about your lazy ride that's coming up on the 20th, and so we might be able to work together. So that's why I'm here tonight to talk to you.
Great, thanks for coming up here. We're all always happy to be promoting different events going on the islands, and we're always welcoming other folks to be a part of this commission in volunteer capacity. So I'm happy you're up here today. Okay. As far as working with us on Island Fest, what did you specifically have in mind?
Well, timing, obviously it would be prior to our blessing of the bicycles in June, so it would be a wonderful time for us to promote our activity. But through our marketing efforts through different groups, we would be encouraging people to come and avail themselves of the lazy ride that is beginning this year. I think this is the first year for that, maybe, and the 20th of June. So, I mean, whether or not that could be something that we could work on my way in, I stopped and took a photograph of our brick that we had purchased out there. Oh, did you? Okay. So, I mean, and so you had worked with us last year as well at our Blessing of the Bicycles. So I just thought that I'd avail myself of your third Tuesday of the month and come and talk to you, so.
Great, well, thank you.
I have questions if you...
Yes.
By all means, sir.
It crosses my mind that, number one, Jane Fiegel, who was really our spearhead for the bicycle riding, the lazy ride,
Okay.
isn't here tonight because she's on vacation, and that's unfortunate for us. But I think it's a neat idea, and I think that you should know that there are several bike events being promoted on the island this year.
I read from your last, from Facebook. some of the
Not
things
only that, there is one being sponsored through the Rotary Club in September.
Okay.
And I'm hearing bits and pieces about that. But we are putting together, we being the township, primarily Tom Valvesto and I have been spearheading the Walk the Path thing. We did that last year in June.
I do recall.
And we're doing it this year in August for a reason. We are promoting, and I'm kind of going onto my own agenda for this, but we are promoting cooperation with Wayne State University's Barrow Dure 100-mile bicycling event, which is going to end on Grosse Hill. And the Walk the Path, of course, is you come down to Meridian Macomb and enjoy a hot dog and a glass of lemonade with us, and free of charge, just community getting together and celebrating the bike path system. And, if I'm hearing you say that you want to participate in something that's really coming up in just 2 weeks, we would have to really scramble. So, I'm going to leave that up to Brian. But don't put it past, or don't rule out the fact that maybe we could do it at one of the other events. And, when we have everybody at Meridian Macomb riding bicycles, a blessing of the bicycles might be a good time for that, too. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, obviously the timing for what you're talking about later is well beyond when we're thinking. And our very first one was on June 16th, 3 years ago. This is our fourth.
Okay.
So that being said, you're welcome to deny my request to work with you at the Island Fest as far as promoting ours and then promoting yours June 20th ride. That's fine. I'm just here to announce to you what our intentions are. We're going to be having a blessing of the bicycles in June. And I think it'll be we've not determined the exact, but I think it's going to be the 13th, Saturday the 13th. So that being said, if indeed that's what it is, and I'll know at a meeting tomorrow morning if indeed that's going to be when it is, you're welcome to work with us should you so desire, and we would be happy to try to help you in the future, but I mean, we would help you for the June 20th. If nothing more, then there's July 18th, and then there's August 15th, and then you're saying Wayne State, and so that's well into the future. Our immediate future is coming up in June. So that's all I'm here to.
I've never meant to discourage you.
Well,
Please don't misunderstand me.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know that there are a lot of things going on.
Well, that's wonderful.
Likewise.
I'm glad to hear, and I'm glad to read about that, the lazy ride, and obviously some of your riders may have ridden in Roll Along the River that I read about. That was an interesting concept that I read about that was starting in Wyandotte and went all the way to E-Course and came back. So
This is starting in the Grosse Pointes and ending up in Grosse Hill.
what you're talking
Yeah,
about is
that's a round trip
Yes.
circuit.
Well, there is a roll along the river that was started. And
There's a
slow
tremendous-
roll in Detroit, and so, I mean, it's some wonderful ministries. We're just, we have something.
Sure.
So, and I appreciate at least the time in front of you tonight.
Leave it to my chairman to figure this out.
That'll be fine.
Aaron, it looked like you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, I was going to say, thanks for coming, and I think Jane and Al really
kind of handle a lot of the planning, so we can get you in touch with Jane.
I've already emailed Jane.
Okay.
She's on vacation. That's the reason why she hadn't emailed me as to, how the format of your June 20th. I've sent her 2 emails now, so.
Okay,
And it was
she's
just,
usually-
and then I read that, you're meeting tonight, so I could come and talk to Jane, or wherever she sits.
Happy.
So, but.
She's usually
that
very
being
good
said,
with,
so-
very good
Yeah.
with email, so I don't know when she's coming back in town. Do you know, Brian?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but
But
That's
I'm,
not
I'm
real.
sure she'll get back to you. But I would say at the very least, if you have like a card or something that talks about when the blessing of the bikes is going to be, I think that we could definitely hand that out at Island Fest, couldn't we?
Sure.
I mean, I think just,
Absolutely. And we might take advantage of your help, too.
Well,
Yeah, that's-
obviously I can leave my email address and I've already done it for Jane. So if you can pass along to her, and so I'll wait to hear from her as to whether or not we can work together on promoting each other's venues or
That's
not.
what about. That's
So,
all-
and that's
that's all
fine.
about
I'll
our
just
community.
sit back down and listen to the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
well, thank you so much.
Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Peggy Tucker. I just would like the bicycle committee to consider at some time putting in a bench on the horse mill path, kind of like halfway or near the end or something, because if you need to sit down, not me, of course, there's no place to
Not me,
sit.
of course.
And I see, there's benches every place else, but there isn't one on horse mill. And somebody was kind of like chopping out the woods one day, and I thought, well, maybe we're going to do that.
There is a person who is interested in donating a bench for Horseville, so it
Perfect.
probably will happen.
Okay, great, yeah.
And as far as location, you're saying halfway. I think of halfway like at Thoroughfare.
It'd be about
We're in the
Thoroughfare,
bird
yeah.
sanctuary, which is a nice location where you could be sheltered from any of the sun, and then you'd be able to hear
Yeah,
the
it is a nice
birds.
location, yeah, it's good,
But-
it's great.
Is there any others that you were thinking about as possible locations?
No, not at all.
It's a good
But I just didn't think we didn't have one, you have them
Good
every
spot.
place else, yeah, good. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, moving on. Based on the amended agenda, I'd like to move forward with the recommendation of appointments to BPAC. We have 2 individuals that have expressed interest in being part of BPAC, and I know we do have one of them with us here tonight. Bob, would you like to come up and say a few words?
Good evening, and it's great to be here. I'd just like to say I'm looking forward to working with all of you because you guys have really done a wonderful job here since I've moved here. The things I've seen and what I've heard, I'm very impressed. And I'm looking forward, hopefully in the future, working with you, and I'm sure I can learn a lot from you. Maybe I can share some things with you also. Thank you.
Thanks. We also have Deb, who's not with here.
Donna Depa.
Donna, I'm sorry. Donna, who's not here with us this evening, but both her and Bob did an interview with us, and they were great candidates, in my opinion. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to make any comments before I, ask for a recommendation, some language on a vote.
Unless Aaron has any comments.
no, I don't have
No?
any.
I would make a motion that we recommend to the Township Board to appoint Mr. Robert Firmstone and Donna Depa to the BPAC Commission.
My second?
Great.
Any discussions?
I have none.
It's a small discussion group today. We have a standing committee of 7, but we have 2 vacancies, so our quorum is 3 out of 5, and we have 3. So, all in favor?
Mind if I call?
Well,
Of course.
that's the way it works, isn't it?
Generally, I call it, but yeah.
So I take back that. Mr. Chair, would you please?
All in favor? Aye. That sounds better.
I don't know.
Based on that, congratulations, sir. Bob, would you be interested in joining us up here this evening? You wouldn't-
Now, I recognize that you were being recommended, so this is just to see if the chair fits. Okay? Have a seat wherever you'd like.
I'm honored.
So are we.
So based on that, welcome above, welcome
Thank you.
aboard, but
Thank you for inviting me.
do you have an agenda?
An agenda?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I left it on my chair.
Peggy will get you one.
Yes.
Cool. Just make sure you got the itinerary over here, because we're going to move into old business.
Okay.
I know we have little leftover issues with the brick installation with the fountain. Aaron, would you like to tell us what you found out?
Sure. Well, I should say thanks to Wally. We got in touch with Polar Engraving, and they had misplaced the email that I originally sent, or actually ordering the brick. So now I think that's kind of taken care of. They sent us an invoice. Ann has paid the invoice. Wally called today to double check that they were sending the bricks, when they are sending the bricks. And then I received an email today asking for a phone number that the truck driver can call when he's delivering the bricks. So or she, I guess it could be she. I assume within the next week. I'm not sure what Patrick told Wally, but since I received that email, that's what I would assume.
So far, it all lines up. They're supposed to call us with a delivery date. They are not engraved yet. They're engraving them this week. This has been a frustration for me, and I don't mind telling you that. Despite our best efforts, this thing should have been here and in the ground already. I wanted it done before Island Fest, and that's my frustration with it. But I did speak to the installer who put them in last year, and he did a substandard job by his own estimation, but is waiting now for us to get the new bricks in, and he promises he will make it look like $1 million. And I think that he's a man of his word. So, matter of fact, I know he is. So let's leave it where we've got until Island Fest, and after Island Fest, we'll fix it all up.
And I do know that I still need to contact Ann and get, I guess, an official number for what we have after we've paid off our debt.
Okay, official profit. Thanks for that update. Appreciate it. And I'm confident that this thing's going to look like $1 million when it's finally finished. So thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Wally, for all of your help on that. Aaron, I'll let you talk about Bike to School Day, too. I know, heard some great things about that.
Yeah, I think it was successful again this year. Big thanks to everyone who helped out. Oh my goodness, we had the police department, they were out. PAT, PTO had some awesome volunteers. They also donated prizes again as incentives. Jane did a great job of promoting it. Just a lot of people who really helped it come together. It was a little bit rainier this year, so the turnout was slightly less. We had, I think we had 66, did I say 66 riders at the middle school? And I think we had about 100 last year. So that was down, but still not bad. And at Meridian Elementary, we had 90, let's see, we must not have had 66. It was around there. We had 99 riders at Meridian, which that's also down by absolute numbers, but Meridian's missing their third grade. The third grade's now at Park Lane. So 99 riders is actually over a third of the school riding their bikes. And we kept better track this year, too. We had some slips last year, and I think slips might have been turned in even when kids didn't ride because there was a little misunderstanding around them. This year we had the raffle tickets, and we could actually count them, so we knew exactly how many kids rode.
Okay.
And it looked like everybody had fun and everybody stayed safe.
And what was the percentage again? You said it?
It was over a third, because I think someone said they have around 275 kids at Meridian. We had 99 riders.
That's impressive. I think that's something that we should actually be letting the state know about as far as the number of folks that we have participating within it. I was just in a meeting in Lansing this morning, and they're bragging about Traverse City, which they have a lot more kids, a lot more schools in that area, but I think they had around 700 kids, but they didn't say anything about the percentage. So I'm thinking that this is another thing that we can be advertising, that it's a great environment to be biking in, and lots of people are biking. Move to Grosio, and you'll be able to bike too.
If I may say something?
Of course, sir.
I'm a school bus driver also, and I have to say there was a good turnout Wednesday, but I also noticed that Friday, which was also the makeup day, if there was rain out, those that didn't ride Wednesday, there was a good turnout that Friday morning. Then those kids there weren't counted, but there was a good turnout Wednesday also. So I think it was successful. We talked about it at the bus garage. So it was a good event. Great job.
Yeah. And I think we're actually starting to see some behavioral change too, because I'm seeing folks ride their bikes to school on other days besides bike to school day. So there's at least 1 or 2 bike racks filled up at Park Lane Elementary, which my child attends right now, and that was weeks before, and this week as well. So I think it's having significant impact. So congratulations. Well, anything you want to add with that?
Yes, I do. Aaron is the spark plug. Really, you've done a tremendous amount of work there, and I'm proud of you. And I think that you've done our committee very, very proud too. Thank you for a great effort.
Okay. Moving on, we have we had a bike to school day. The safety class before the bike to school day on May 2nd. I know that was lightly attended, to say the least, but I think that it was a good learning experience. We did have quite a bit of material there, and we kind of know, we have some lessons on how to plan it a little bit better in the future. I know some of us were talking about potentially having some of the bike registration at Island Fest or other upcoming activities, and then planning another safety class to go along with maybe the lazy ride or some other events along the school year. Alan could have probably provided more comments on this, but unfortunately he's not here tonight, but I'll let him talk a little bit more maybe next month. Next item was Mayor's Challenge. Wally, I know last month you said that you were going to speak with Mr. Loftus about that.
Yeah, I did, and it was a conversation that recognizes that this is a massive reporting requirement.
Okay.
I brought along a summit worksheet for just challenge activity number 1, and it's 7 pages long. And it's, I can just tell you that the summit worksheet, the activities, number 1, complete streets approach. How do we know we have a successful complete streets policy? What steps can further a complete streets approach? We've got a lot of ammunition to fill this, but I and Brian are probably going to have to sit down and work on it together. He's not unwilling to do it. It's just a massive amount of paper. And it's 7 parts to this challenge, and I'm going to tell you, each part is 7 to 10 pages long. So
yeah,
this reminds me a bit of the work that Alan did for the name of the event escapes me.
The BPAC.
The BPAC, promoting interactive communities. It's almost a mirror. We have already accepted a complete streets approach in the township, and so consideration will be made to build streets that take into consideration not just automobiles. But, this seems like a big homework assignment. And I didn't see anything in it that you sent into anyone either, so maybe I'm wrong. But
Yeah, I was under the impression that it was a little simpler than that it was pretty much making a declaration that we're being a part of it. But
you can have section 1 just for your reading edification. Right? We killed one small poplar.
Oh, wow. Well, maybe next year.
Well, I don't know about next year. Maybe yet this year, but it's just It's like a homework assignment, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
The seat is.
But I think we're covering it in other venues.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the update, sir. And I will keep you on the microphone because we've got your two events, if you want to say anything more about
Sure.
the Bordeaux and the Walk the Path
Right.
event.
Well, I did allude to it a little bit earlier, but just for those who didn't hear me, Wayne State University is promoting a 100-mile event for bicyclists, and it is an event that is to sponsor some financial help for people going to the college that could use a little financial help. So it's an enrolled event. It costs you $36 to get into this event, and you can see the list of many portions of this event on your screen right now. But it's basically a 100-mile bicycle ride, and it is called the Barrel Dure. Our president, M. Roy Wilson, came up with that name because I understand Barrel Dure is a warrior in French, and the Wayne State's mascot, or their keystone, is that of a warrior. So it was a nice tie-in. The event will take place on August 22nd. Those of you who are not aware of it, that is also the date of our garage sale on Gross Sale. So we thought, in order to give a refreshment station to the Barradores, which they really need after 100 miles, that we would invite them to come down on August 22nd, and we would supply lemonade and hot dogs like we did last year in our first Walk the Path event. So it'll be Barradore, Walk the Path, and
Garage sale.
the Island Wide Garage Sale. This is going to be a very, very busy Grosse Ile. I understand there are 100 people already enrolled in the 100-mile event and several more in portions of it. Tom Malvesto, my fellow trustee, last year he and I did the Walk the Path event for the first time. He's deserted me. He's going to ride in the event. Tom is going to ride his bike, and I'm going to cook the hot dogs. And I'll probably sing with Barry Van Engelen. So if anybody wants to know, fair warning to leave the island that day, we're going to have a lot of fun. The bottom line is that I expect a couple of the other township trustees and a lot of support from this committee and from the Greenways Open Space Committee, Recreation Department. We're all going to get in there and show the world what Grosse Ile is made out of, and that's community. So that's the event. Now, you'll see promotional things coming out soon. I need to corral Jane to give me a help with a little bit of a brochure. I already got Barry Van Engelen to do the guitar work like he did last year, and he's just a wonderful guy, So we've got a lot of fun planned for August 22nd, and I'm going to be under a gazebo if it rains anyway, so
I'm looking forward to that event.
that'll be fun.
See, when you said that Tom was going to be riding the event, I thought maybe he's going to have a trailer, and you're going to be cooking hot dogs on that trailer, passing them out along the way.
You're going to be deeply disappointed if you look at that.
You said you wouldn't ride a bike, but maybe you could be on the trailer.
I didn't say I wouldn't ride a bike. I didn't say I wouldn't ride a bike. And it's going to have two wheels if I do ride it, but I prefer to ride a horse.
Mm-hmm.
And I got
Horses
a
are
horse
fun,
in the
too.
garage, so.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks for that update. Next item under old business is our bridge restoration and cost estimate, as well as the rains report summary. So I know the rains report we did get I think on the day of our last meeting, which summarized at $110,000 for all of the projects, and that would include restoration of the South Point path, the Grow Road path, as well as the Meridian path.
But not the bridges.
Yes, not the bridges. Since then, today we got a quote from Wes Pfeiffer for the bridges, and it looks like he's quoting us at just shy of $40,000 for some repairs on that. So haven't had a chance to really look through this yet. I know, Aaron, you were looking at it a little bit as before the meeting, and Wally, you probably have a few things you might want to talk about right now, but I know that one of the questions was did we have, does this summary have the different options available, or is it simply of everything that's going to be done? Because we had that epoxy that was supposed to be put on there, and it looks like it says repair, replace. I'll read through for the thoroughfare bridge. It says to repair or replace damaged deck boards, top rails, and handrail spindle assembly. Touch up sanding, take care of the nail heads, perform inspection, that's $4,000. $7,000 for power washing the deck, and another $5,000 for power washing the handrails. And things are similar for the Meridian Path and the Grow. So it doesn't look like there is a replacement cost for any of these bridges. And I'm wondering, is that something that we need?
No, there is a replacement cost. It's on the other document I gave you.
Oh, okay.
There is the bike path road bridges summary does a great deal of explanation and detail of the estimate that Wes Pfeiffer has given us. I think that, if I might comment right now, these are estimates. These are estimates supplied to us by our building engineer, C.E. Raines Company, and by the person who built 2 of the 3 bike paths. Work of this magnitude will have to be bid. And, everybody recognizes that. I am fresh from the memory of going through a bike season and working around Halloween to get things partially done and then having to come back the following spring, and people's memories are, they lose after 6 months some of the things that were promised to be done. And to make this long story short, what I want to do with blessings of this committee is to recommend to the township board or the township business manager to place these 2 items out for bid as soon as he can physically do so that we can be in a situation where we can come back at the next BPAC meeting and make a recommendation to the township board as to what and how much we want done. And I will further state that I want it all done. We have the funds to do it, and the blessings of an electorate that said, keep this stuff in good shape. Mm-hmm. This will use up virtually all of our existing funds, save about $20,000 for emergencies. And that will tie together with my comment about the next items on there, the millage discussion. I am of the firm belief that this community loves its bike paths and its bridges. And I do believe strongly that if asked for a reasonable millage, citizens of Groseal will approve it. So I am going to ask again that we get bids out for both the bridges and the wood and the asphalt repairs, so that we can get bids back and perhaps hold a special meeting if necessary before the next township board meeting, which will not occur for another 3 weeks or 4 weeks, so that we can get this thing on the road. I want these things built in July and August, not September and October. And I think you've all felt the same way. We agree with that? So with your blessings, I will ask to have those things done.
I have a few questions just about the details. I'm all for getting it through. I guess on this estimate that Wes gave us, this looks like it's not the complete rebuild that Brian, so he had given us 2 scenarios, and one was to do an epoxy and kind of fix things, and then the other one was to completely redo the bridge. And from what I'm reading here, I think this is the estimate that talks about the epoxy. Am I correct?
I'm ready enough to understand it.
Okay. I thought last time the amount that he had thrown out for the complete rebuild might be around, like, didn't he say something like 70 or 80,000? It was something very high. That
we got some information on what the costs were to replace the bridges someplace.
I forgot to bring my past notes.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up right now.
But I guess I was under the impression he would give us two different estimates for the two scenarios.
Do you think it's something that we could make recommendation to get bids
Can-
for this restoration work? In the meantime, we still have, Wes put together the costs for completely rebuilding, so that way we can make a decision later on. Do we
Well, I'm-
go with the
I
restoration?
guess it depends on how everybody else feels. I personally think the restoration makes sense versus the rebuild, based on cost.
I'm going to just ask your indulgence to perhaps move along in the agenda while I try to find where I saw the original costs estimates, the ones that you're looking for, and they're not in these documents. If it would be all right with us to come back, I'd like to do that.
Sure.
See if I could dig through some emails so I
Sure.
can see what I have.
I think that makes sense. Okay, so I don't think we want to talk about the millage discussion while Wally's looking for other information.
Oh, I think you should.
Okay, I was just going to say after we talk more about the bridges and stuff, but if you can multitask and be looking at that,
Yep.
and talk about the millages.
I would suggest to you that, again, we're going to probably exhaust most of our fund balance on this year's efforts if we do everything that's on this list, which means that we need to recommend to the Township Board that a millage request for maintenance be included in the next possible voting date.
So,
Can we do this all in one breath, or will they?
I think we should do it separately.
Okay.
as far as the millage request, I guess, are we thinking that BPAC would come up with the language on that?
No.
Or do we make more of
The
a...
township management comes up with the language for it, and will come back to us with an estimated revenue for different millage requests. How much will 1/10 of a mill bring? How much will 3/10 of a mill bring? And that's what Ann will do for us.
Okay.
But my point is that a millage request has to be made. Right? We have to get money for 2016 and 17 and 18 and 19, and I think we have enough history to say that we're spending $125,000 a year on our bike path system. That would be enough for maintenance for a great estimate. And it may happen one year that we spend $80,000, and the next year have to spend $150,000, but it should balance out. And I think we'll come back to you with, the Township Board will come back to you with these suggestions and these parameters, and you will get your input on it. But that's what they're there for, you know.
Since we're talking millage, and in the past, we've had millages specifically for one type of facility, so meaning the path itself. Is there any interest in expanding that out for maintenance of sidewalks or things like that, where we do have a good network and we're seeing that there's repairs that are needed in that? Or is it, I guess I'm just getting people's opinions on this and, entertaining the notion, it's not so much my idea that I think we should be going forward with this, but just asking the question, should we be looking at, a sidewalk replacement program in order to, because we did Safe Routes to School projects, so we have sidewalk that's going up to the various schools down here, as well as through some of the neighborhoods. And do we view that as part of the whole system and should be collected township-wide, or should the onus on that be on the property owners for future maintenance?
I can tell you that the last time we did maintenance of sidewalks and repairs of sidewalks, the Department of Public Services did all of the estimating with Rains, and we came up with unit prices for sidewalk repairs, and there was so much per slab. And all homeowners that had sidewalks that were deficient had the choice of repairing them themselves, or the township would come in and repair them and charge the homeowner front. We're a bike path commission. We're not a sidewalk commission.
Well, we're actually a Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, which
Well-
encompasses more than just the bike paths. That's why I feel like I need to bring it up.
And I'm cautioning you that if you go too wide, you will jeopardize the chances for repairs to the system that we are the parents of, okay? You may feel a responsibility towards sidewalks, but right now, we need a maintenance solution for bike paths. And I would not be for that,
Gotcha,
my
sir.
opinion.
Thank you. Aaron, what do you think?
I agree that we should be concerned about the condition of the sidewalks, but I don't think it belongs in this millage, because like Wally said, I think we do risk, homeowners and everybody not voting for the millage, and we need a maintenance millage, or we won't be able to maintain our paths just in the next year. But that being said, I do think that we should be more concerned about sidewalks than we have been in the past. I think that's something we should be looking at.
You've been invited to the next DPS commission meeting, and I'm sure you could ask that question there, because they're going to be the stewards of sidewalks. That's just what they do.
Bob? Interested to hear your opinion, sir.
Thank you for asking me. I think we need to focus on maintaining what we have right now. And as far as the sidewalk goes, some communities, bicycles aren't allowed on sidewalks. It's for walking. And they actually have we talked about earlier about the road, of a bike path on the road. Not a path, but, stripes just for cycling, which that's something to talk about in the future. But right now, I think we focus on maintaining what we have. And thank you for asking me.
No problem. And just for clarification, we are just talking about maintaining, not constructing anything new. It's just that we do have existing sidewalks in Groseal. So I just wanted to say, does it make sense to include it as part of this millage? And it sounds like the answer to that is no, at least for right now. Potentially in the future, if we get a groundswell of folks coming and say, hey, well, what about sidewalks? Why, I have, hundreds of neighbors coming and using these sidewalks that don't have sidewalks themselves, but I personally have to foot the bill because the sidewalk's on my property. How is that fair? I could see a question of equity on that. But again, I baby steps with everything, and I completely agree that I think that we should be focusing specifically on the path aspects right now.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I also don't think that it's this commission's decision to make who owns the sidewalks, if it's the homeowners or if it's the township. I'm sure there's something that's already out there that says who owns it and who's responsible for it. So I don't think that we should make that call.
Ask Lorinda Beneteau. That's who I went nose to nose with when I first discovered that. That's 10 years ago. So, and I asked her why I had to do that, and she says, because I said so. And it was a cute answer, diffused the situation. But Lorinda is pretty sharp at that. She can give you some insight.
So as far as millage, do folks feel comfortable with drafting, a recommendation for the township to entertain the notion, the options as far as potential millage rates? Do we feel comfortable voting on that this evening, or is that something that we should be waiting until we have a full commission? So, with the people that are absent today, as well as our new commissioners who have yet to be, formally appointed to this commission.
If you're asking my opinion, I think we should wait. I think that there is a good input coming from new members and old, some who are absent and some who are just new to our committee. And we need to let them get their feet on the ground before we do that. But, drafting the language, again, will happen at a township board level. You may look at the historical expenditures on the bike paths, take a look at some of the years when money wasn't spent, and see what happened to our bike paths when that happened. And I'll take a look at the better shape we're in now and the better shape we will be at the end of this year if we're spending the amount that I anticipate we're going to spend. And then looking to the future, figuring out what rate of millage we're going to ask the residents to support. I don't want a big bank account. I want the money for bike paths spent as it's generated. But I want it to be adequate to make sure that the bike paths are in good shape. And I think that's what we all are looking for. So I'm not going to get involved in, should it be 2/10 of a mil or 3/10 of a mil tonight. We don't have that answer. But take a look at your historical spending, and then perhaps at our next BPAC meeting, we should hone that down a little bit, right?
I feel more comfortable waiting a month as well. Aaron, how do you feel?
I agree. I think we should have more of our members weighing in on it.
Okay. Bob, I assume you're the same way.
Yeah, let's wait a month. Something to think about.
Great. Okay. Wally, do you need more time as far as looking for those
I haven't found
numbers?
it yet.
Okay.
Let me just ask that we table it for now.
Okay.
All right, I haven't found those numbers. I know I saw a document about them, and I'll find it in 10 minutes after I don't need it.
Okay. Last item under old business is the Lazy Ride, which we have talked about a little bit. Jane has been working primarily on this, and she's doing a great job. There's flyers all around town now, and we have 3 dates for the Lazy Ride. First one being on June 20th, second July 18th, and the third for August 15th. Jane and I had been talking about different places to meet. Originally, she was thinking about the church across from the Macomb Commons. And I said, well, why not bring it back to Macomb Commons, because that's, it's a public park in that area. There's plenty of parking there as well as folks that feel more comfortable riding on the paths. You're right next to there. You don't have to cross Meridian in order to get there. So we talked about that as an option, as well as then we started thinking about, well, what about on the other side of town, being able to provide some synergies. There's going to be a lot of bicyclists out there. Perhaps it would be beneficial to move the location to another part of the downtown area where bicyclists might patronize some of the local businesses for snacks and such, so the bakery, as well as the grocery shops and other things that are happening on the east end. And then also, we're thinking, well, the township is creating this new little pocket park. Maybe it might be nice to meet there at the Macomb Lions Park. So, we had talked with Carol, and she thought that was a great idea. So at least that's what we're entertaining for the first ride on June 20th to be the starting point at Macomb Lions Park. As far as the July meeting, the July ride in the August, we don't have details specifically on where it's going to end, and we're not. We're hoping that we're going to have a little bit different ride as far as the route each time, but we're gonna see how this goes and have it hopefully grow organically and learn along the way. For right now, we have the contact email address is the BPAC one with gibikeped@gmail.com. I know there's been some discussion in the past about that email address being a little long and a little hard to remember, especially since we have a acronym for our commission now with BPAC. So I did look into changing that email address, and unfortunately BPAC is actually taken from a Gmail standpoint. So one of the things that we're wondering about is it something that we could get a township email address, so that way folks could just easily remember it's bpac@groseal.com.
I don't see any reason why we can't. I thought we had already crossed that question.
I had emailed Ted about that, and he made it sound like there is a little bit of resistance from Dale on that, but he said we have to get approval from him, and want to make sure that everyone was on board with that before.
All right, and I found the numbers I was looking for.
Okay, great. So is there any other questions about the lazy ride? Okay. Hearing none, we can go back to the paths and the bridges.
Basically, what has occurred is that he has sent us all these estimates, but he didn't send us the notes with the additional notes. So I'll just read it to you right now, and if you want, I can send it to you electronically.
That'd be great.
Please find attached the written bridge scope based on the walkthrough inspections and an itemized quote sheet for the proposed work. Additional notes. This is the stuff that isn't on your document.
Okay.
Meridian Bridge, top of joists are punky. I'm going to read it exactly as it's written. Approximately 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. Bullet point 2, preliminary estimate to remove decking, apply epoxy restoration material to joists, and redeck with 50% salvage and 50% new deck material, $18,310. Bullet point number 3, an estimate to remove and replace the Meridian Bridge, $70,000. Original cost of Meridian Bridge, $36,000. Original cost of Thoroughfare Bridge, wooden sections, $278,125. Original cost. That's 15 years ago. No structural damage was found at any bridge location other than the above-mentioned joists at the Meridian location. I can send you all of these comments electronically to add to your questions.
Yeah, but, that's actually enough for me. I just wanted to make sure that this was, that
She's
this
got a
was,
little voice and she needs that microphone.
that this was the estimate for the epoxy and not the complete rebuild. So I'm comfortable sending this to the township board.
Right.
Okay.
Looking at $40,000 to repair all 3 bridges versus, the replacement costs for just the Meridian Bridge alone was, $30,000 more.
Sure.
$70,000. I think it's,
Makes sense to fix, doesn't it?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we knew it was going to be making sense. Now, the man built the bridges, he knows them very well. I'm hopeful that he can put in a good bid and take
Yeah.
on this competition.
But it's always wise to do our good diligence and, make sure we dot our i's and cross our t's and investigate every option, even though sometimes, common sense would think that's going to be more, you never know. Sometimes the answer defies common sense. So, thank you for making sure we looked at those numbers. Is there any other questions or comments on the bridges or the paths? Bob, have you?
No, I'm good. I'm glad you questioned that. It was interesting to hear the figures on that. It's amazing.
Aaron, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, did we want to make a motion to, it sounded like earlier, Wally was interested in sending this to the board before the next meeting. Is that something we want to wait for the rest of the members to do again, or is that something we want to do tonight, sooner rather than later?
I think there's merit in both situations, but I think, this is my opinion here, that if we did go ahead and make a motion tonight to recommend the, the bid process, as long as we put in some sort of, qualification that it should be coming back to our commission, so that way we have another chance to be looking at all the bids together and deciding, which way we go on it, at least what we feel as our commission to recommend to the township board. I think that, all of our commissioners would have a chance to weigh in. Wally, how do you feel about that?
There never was any other way. We would have any bids come back for review by this commission, and then a recommendation made by this commission to the township board. All I'm trying to do is hustle the process. I don't want to be working on this in Halloween. I want it done.
I agree.
Any other questions? I'm kind of forming a
What day is
recommendation right now.
Halloween? Is that what's your question?
No.
October 31st. We tend to be less than fully formal. Makes the meetings go faster.
How about, we recommend to the township board to solicit bids for the review of the work itemized in West Pfeiffer's bridge cost estimate and the CE Rains path restoration estimates.
Second.
Who was the first?
You were.
Okay. I didn't know I can do that if I make the motion.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You're a full-fledged paid member.
All right.
Even though I sometimes jump ahead of you and say things. I still like you, Brian.
Means a lot to me, sir. So, three of us will be making a vote since we're, sanctioned members tonight. You have to wait till next month, sir, before you get a vote.
I understand.
Turn off his microphone.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Great. I have a few items left under new business. First item is Tour de Ile, and that is the event that Wally was talking about to begin with. That is being, who's putting that on?
Roseal Rotary.
Roseal Rotary. And it has a lot of different volunteers involved with the Nature and Land Conservancy, former township officials, current township officials. It looks like it's going to be a very large event, and we were specifically asked if we'd like to be a part of it. So I know Jane had taken the lead and gone to one of the meetings. I was out of town at that time, so I don't have much else to report on that. So I think that next month we'll have more information.
I'm going to chime in and just say, number one, I'm pleased that there are other people besides Bike Path Committee that are interested in bicycles on Roseal. All right, having said that, we don't have to have any input for anybody else to do a bike path event.
Of course.
But I'm tickled pink to see that other people are also interested in bikes.
And if there wasn't other people interested in bikes, I don't think any of us would be here to begin with, because we would have been laughed out of the township board chambers.
You are pioneers, ladies and gentlemen.
So more information to come. I know Jane is excited about that, and I think at the very least we can just report back what's been going on with it. Second item is about actually it's something I just stumbled upon on the internet. And I bring it up because it relates to both paths as well as connections with our friends in the Open Space Committee. And so one thing that, while I know you've talked a lot about, is what do we do with these fallen trees? And you have these cleanups, and you have permits now where folks can come in and cut down trees and take care of it, make it look a little bit nicer. So when I was doing some research on my own about some trees in my neighborhood, in my property, what to do, reuse them, there was something about reusing fallen trees with something. And the other issue was, as far as the open space, is that we do have drainage issues. We have these paths. I personally have used them in the late winter and early spring. And while this isn't Roseal itself, it's just kind of a generic image of how the conditions of the trails is a little bit subpar during that time of the year, which is perfectly fine given expectations. But since we do have a problem with the trees and we do have a drainage issue, is there a potential solution? And one thing I come across was reusing the actual trunks of trees and branches of trees, cut them into smaller, almost like chips or cookies, as they're calling them. Then they call it a cookie tree or tree cookies, where you essentially can create paths or stepping stones through areas. And these are just potential just example images. But I just thought it was kind of a neat idea. And so I wanted to share it with you guys, as well as I plan to share it with the Open Space Committee, just to see if it's something that that they like and might potentially want to move forward with. So there's no action needed on our part. If you guys have any comments, that's fine. But I just I thought I'd share it with you.
If we don't figure out a road millage, that's what Meridian might look like.
That might be an improvement compared to some parts of East and West River.
Very true. I have faith. I think just as an aside, the DPS is working hard on roads. You're going to see some great things on roads with a very limited budget this year.
Good stuff. And we are meeting with DPS next month, so we'll learn more about it then. Any other questions or comments about cookie walks or tree cookies? Okay, hearing none. Move on to Island Fest. So we do have, a great bike path map that Jane has put together with the help of, former Commissioner Albright in the past, that we've been able to pass out at the last Island Fest. And we put this out at certain locations. We've also included this map within the Channels magazine. And we're going to have a booth for Island Fest. And we've been wondering, well, last year our focus was mainly on the fountain and selling the bricks and then letting folks know about the path. So what was going to be our main topic of discussion at this booth that we're trying to engage with the public within this time? And I thought that since we need to start moving forward with our bicycle and pedestrian plan to show folks, what type of improvements we're looking to be doing to existing facilities, as well as where we could potentially have, future improvements. It might be nice to marry this map that we have with, a public process where we ask folks to say, where do you bike? How do you bike? Or, where do you walk? And, are there areas that they consider that need improvement? So we'd be able to identify different roads or different trails that might be needing some improvements. Additionally, they might say, well, I'd really appreciate a park over here. I'd like this, something within this open space. So I just thought the idea was, we could get a big, probably like a 30-inch by 40-inch map, have some push pins, and individuals can come up and put their be able to mark certain roads, certain locations. We can have it all color-coded. And I mentioned this to Jane, and she's already spearheading getting a bulletin board for us, so that way we'd be able to do it. So that's my idea for the Island Fest. I was wondering what you guys think about that as the main objective, as well as the other things that we should be doing at the Island Fest event. Start with Jane. Start with Aaron.
I really like that idea. I think that'll be great. I think in addition to that, we should also talk about bicycle safety and bicycle etiquette. I heard at Bike to School Day, we talk about it consistently about how you'll see people riding on the wrong side of the road, or just little things that I think everybody who's biking should know, especially on this island when we don't have a lot of street lights. We don't necessarily have bike paths everywhere people are biking. I think it's important that we educate everybody about how to ride, and I know that was our goal for the bicycle safety class, but we didn't have the turnout we had hoped. But now we do have all those materials remaining, and maybe we'll have a better audience at Island Fest, and I think that should be another one of our main focuses.
Where is your path? Where is the booth going to be?
I don't know. Do you know, Brian?
I don't know at the exact location.
Who was setting that up for you?
Alan was setting that up. And he said that we do have space. The last time I talked to him, he didn't know the exact location. We're hoping for something similar like we had last year.
I wasn't there last year. I was outside doing other business. But that's the reason I asked. Good foot traffic will be a good place for you to hand things out. So your place will be important. I haven't seen that place, but so can't comment on it.
Last year,
if you're back in a corner someplace, you're not going to give away much stuff.
No. Last year we were right by the steak dinners, so people are coming through. We were in the main aisle. We had quite a bit of traffic, so I'm hoping for the same thing. And I guess, as far as volunteers, if there's folks that want to come with their bicycles, or, I know there's some people that, have souped up bikes. My brother, for instance, he creates all sorts of freight bikes and tricycles. He just put a wheelie bar on the back of one of his because he has it's like a little kid bicycle. It's like, plastic bicycle, but he souped it up with some rubber wheels, and it's very comical, but it's something that's attention-grabbing that folks might actually be interested in seeing. So if I know that Roger, he repaired a lot of bikes and, custom vintage bikes. So if there's anybody else out there that just kind of wants to brag about the bikes in their collection, we'd be happy to bring them up as well, and that would kind of help get us some foot traffic.
Just out of curiosity, has anyone spoken to the person who's got the bicycle museum on Meridian?
He has been out of town.
He's been out of town?
Yeah. Alan had made contact with him in the past, but we've been trying to arrange a actual tour of the bicycle museum, but I think he's been out of state for the last couple months. So, but yeah, that would be a good idea to connect with him. And of course, as James, he had the individual from the church, we would have a lot of the upcoming bicycle events that we know about. I'm thinking that we could have a little pamphlet that has the different calendar events, so we could advertise for anybody that has an upcoming run or bike or other sort of bike-related event.
What do you think about Mr. Hartwell's offer of helping us and in return helping him to promote his blessing of the bikes at the booth? Mm-hmm.
I have no...
Are you good with that?
That's what I propose.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're on the right track, I think, talking to Jane and Alan, because that would be, a list of events that are going to be bike events and somebody who's got a very, very close upcoming event at the booth. Mm-hmm. I think that would be a good sales tool for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be working Island Fest, and my wife doesn't know it, but I'm her shadow. And due to her precarious health position later, I intend to preserve her.
She does a fine job, Holly. She really does.
She'll do it for a lot less hours this year. But she'll do a fine job while she's there. And I will
She
see,
will.
and I'm sure that I will observe all of it.
Mm-hmm. You're going to have a heck of a job trailing her, because she's just all over the place. Amazing woman.
Yes, I know. I'll lose weight and patience.
Brian, that's a good idea you have there with this map, and allowing the citizens to come over and actually give their input, feedback, and put it on the map to give us all an idea what to work for the future for them. And that's a wonderful idea.
Well, thank you, sir. With that, I do not have anything else under new business. So before we move into reports and closing, is there anything else anybody would like to talk about under new business? Hearing none, we can go to reports and closing. Upcoming rides and runs to publicize. I noticed that there's a Memorial Day run happening up at the high school. I just saw the sign for it. Oh, yes, sir.
You got to talk into the mic.
Oh, see, I'm always accused of having a really loud mouth, so I just thought it carried.
Trust me, you're in a good position. Nobody will worry about your mouth tonight.
No, I was just saying that on the way over here, I saw a banner for a Memorial Day run that was starting up at the high school. So I'm going to find out a little bit more information about that, and I'll be happy to plug that into our calendar of events for future years, as well as advertise that on our sister organization's Groseal Walks and Bikes Facebook page. Is there any other upcoming rides or runs that we should be publicizing?
You're speaking about the run for the unborn?
That could be one, yeah.
I thought that was it.
Do you know the date of the Run for the Unborn?
I think that's this coming Saturday.
This Saturday, okay.
Sacred Heart Church is sponsoring it.
Wally, do you have anything else you'd like to add under a township liaison's report?
I will be quiet the rest of the evening.
Thank you, sir. Unfortunately, I can't be completely quiet, but I will keep mine short. To say that the township has been selected as part of the Detroit Institute of Arts, the DIA's Inside Out program. You may be familiar with it. It's been in Trenton in the past, as well as Wyandotte. I believe it's also in Flat Rock and several other communities along the Huron River this year. But essentially what it is reproductions of famous artwork that as in the Detroit Institute of Art. And so they put it in frames and they put it out in different communities. And so Grozio has been selected for that, and Ms. Carol Canope has been running that. And there'll be some upcoming meetings about that. And I know Jane and I are participating in it, and it sounds like we're going to get an art appreciation course coming up here pretty soon. So the two of us will have a little bit more to report that, but it's another fun event that's going to be able to get people out walking and enjoying our community, but also, extending that a little bit farther and making us maybe a little bit more cultured. I can use that. But that's all I have to report. So if there's no other comments or questions, I'd like a motion for adjournment.
I will motion to adjourn and tell you that the Tigers are losing 7-1 right now.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Walk, bike, and drive safe.